Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here with session number 5 of Evermore le Masquerade. This is our Baroque-themed Dungeons & Dragons 5e campaign. This is based, like I said, on the Baroque periods of France and Spain and Venice, with a little bit of Orlais from Dragon Age kind of sprinkled in. This is D&D like you've never seen it before, or at least as I've never seen it before. But this is session 5, titled Eye for an Eye. I'm really excited. We've got some new rules that we're going to try out here tonight for the first time in the campaign, and I'm really eager to get back to this story. It's been a fantastic tale so far, and full of lots of twists and turns and things that even I didn't expect, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. But before I do that, just a couple of warnings. The first and foremost, the same warning I give at the beginning of all of my games. If mature language and subject matter are things that bother you, and if sexuality is something that bothers you, then this is not an appropriate game for you to watch. While there will not be illicit sex in this game, we're going to come about as close as you can get sometimes. So, fair warning. But I'm going to pass things over now to my players so that they can introduce themselves, plug anything that they might have going on, tell you where you can find them on the internet, etc., etc. And I think then we can get things started. So we're going to start with Kenya.
Always start with me. Hey everybody, Kenya. You can find me on the internets on Twitch and Twitter at acersin. Link should be down below. Yeah, I run a game on Sundays, although not this Sunday because I double booked. It was a whole thing. And on Fridays we do Westocalypse, so that's a lot of fun. Otherwise here, and then over at Jarl DM on the first Monday of every month for Iskloft, Viking shenanigans. Lots of fun. Tonight I'm playing Vera, who is an eloquence bard, who's very concerned that her friend over here is about to get into a duel. And I mean, well, she's concerned for the other guy because he's going to win, so it's no problem. But yeah, so excited for the events tonight. I'm so happy to be back. Miss this game every day we don't have it, so very good news to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, even though it's only been a month since we played, it feels like a long time for some reason. But I'm super excited to find what fucked up shit these characters are going to get into next. As if I don't have any clue. Next, we have Karen.
Sorry, had to find the mute button. Lost it. Didn't know where it was. As he said, I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I like gaming. It's fun. Tonight, I get to play Camino Diego Ruiz de Gonzala, and I am so excited to start this. Okay, that's me. Bye.
Excellent. Looks like you got your haircut. Looks good. It's real short.
I got a few of them cut.
What? I won't apologize. I won't feel bad at all. If anybody right now wants to go ahead and turn this video off, I understand. No, I'm just kidding. Anybody who mentions a link, you should be able to find it in the description of the video down below. And I do highly recommend that you go check out these people. God, that always sounds weird. Go check out what these people are doing. Don't go check them out. Well, I mean, whatever. But they're all wonderful people, and they all have incredible projects that are going on, or things that they get up to, and they're just incredible human beings. So I highly recommend interacting with them if you get the chance. All right, next up we have M.
Hi everyone, I'm Em. I am Dice on Ice on various things. Twitch especially is my platform of choice at the moment. I always say I'm going to add more stuff to it, and I will. But time blindness sucks, so sometimes that's a thing. So, but you can tune in every other Tuesday right now for Curse of Strahd. We're coming up to the end. The finale is near. There's an army cresting the hill, and it's going to be great. And I'm very excited for them to see what happens and figure out if they were truly the bad guys the whole time. So I'm excited for that. And tonight I will be playing Sylvie Levine. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to play this again.
Absolutely. Always. And congratulations. Finishing a campaign is one of the most gratifying things in the entire world, as far as I'm concerned.
3 years too, which is crazy.
Especially for such a long, legend, of a game. What is the word I'm looking? Legacy. It truly feels like it has a legacy at that point. It's stood for that long. But I'm a huge advocate for ending a story. Like, there's a good story is only as good as its ending, truly, and being able to put an end cap on a campaign is always very, very satisfying as a storyteller. Though it can be hard. It's a really bittersweet kind of sensation, but I'm excited for you. Okay, last but certainly not least, we have Matt.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt. I run a channel called A Fistful of Dice here on YouTube, and I make books with Absolute Tabletop. And tonight I'm going to be playing Loxley LaCroix, who is a little dashing, a little debonair, and mostly a disaster. And we're going to get into some dueling tonight with a kind of big figure from his past. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I am super stoked to get to that part. Yeah, dude, I'm just so excited. Okay, last but not least, Austin, we're gonna miss you. Wish you were here. Totally understand, and hope to catch you next month. So I think that's just about. Oh, one last thing. I don't typically like to get super deep into political matters here on this channel, but trans rights are human rights, and fuck you, Greg Abbott. Fuck you. I say that as a Texan, and I'm a proud Texan. You can go fucking sit on it and rotate, asshole. All right. So, with that out of the way, I think that we're ready for some Dungeons and Dragons. How about y'all? All right. Vengeance is a dangerous game. On the one hand, you have the allure of retribution, of a wound once inflicted, often considered to be the only balm that may cure its festering rot. But what must also be considered is what is held in the other hand. What life you have kept or earned since that wound was inflicted. For the latter is what you may have to sacrifice in order to accomplish the former. But when justice is refused, revenge becomes a handsome consolation to those excluded from Evendel's righteousness. We join the 5 of you beneath the city of Aladalgo, beneath her streets, beneath even many of her canals, it would seem. You find yourself in the court of the Forsaken, this refuge for the looked down upon, the disenfranchised of the city. It just so happens that this group is a family of sorts, this collection of were-rats, led by a man known as the Saint of Rats, Armand Gualtiero. He's also known as the Angel of the Canals. He's seems to be a little bit of a man of the neighborhood. A lot of people seem to know him. He seems to know a lot of people, a lot of what goes on in the city. He's brought you down here to give you refuge as the last you saw the Justicaros were scouring the city streets above, looking for you. But even down here, amongst such a collection of individuals, this family, not born of blood, even it is not without its troubles. And it seems that even here, that a past can catch up with someone. In the main area of the Court of the Forsaken, this otherwise rather quaint-looking kind of collection of tents and structures that have been somewhat ramshackly built, but all with flair and color. None of that missing. Still very much a Gerdessi city in its own right. But in the midst of this throng of people, there has been a clearing that is made. A circle where we see 3 men in the center. In the center of this opening is the Saint of Rats himself, Armand. He stands with his hands spread apart, kind of making distance between the 2 other men, who now circle one another. There is going to be a duel here in the Court of the Forsaken. On one side stands a thuggish-looking individual, a man that the locals know as El Pescatore, someone that Lox knows as Luke. And on the other side is Lox himself. El Pescatore tears back his tunic, revealing, that's the word I want, a large scar, nasty and jagged, across his torso. And with this kind of dramatic flair, he turns to you, Lox, and he says, "You are not the only one left with a mark, little lord."
Lox doesn't respond. He shrugs off his own overcoat, sort of long draping jacket, and he will kind of hang it on whatever post or fence is nearby, just getting it out of the way. And he undoes the cuffs on his sleeve and begins rolling up his sleeves. And as Luke speaks to him, he simply reaches up and pulls the patch from his eye and hangs that too on the fence. And he turns, revealing the scarred tissue around the eye and the empty socket. And then he just stands there waiting.
"It's always nice to finish a masterpiece," he says as he kind of like flexes his hand on the hilt of his sword. Armand, standing in the middle, still keeping distance between the 2 of you, looks to you, Lox, and he says, "As the rules of the duel dictate, you, as the challenger, will determine the satisfaction of this duel. Do you wish for first blood, for concession, or for death?"
Lox is remembering the weight of this boy upon him in the alleyway, the blow after blow after blow falling upon his face. He remembers putting his hands up, asking this boy to stop, and receiving no mercy. He clenches his jaw, the muscles twitching in his face. And he looks at Luke with one eye, and somehow this empty socket too seems to be boring into Luke as Loxley LaCroix says, "Concession."
Armand nods, and the crowd, you can hear kind of a collective breath go up amongst them. Meanwhile, Luke kind of rolls his head and kind of chuckles to himself, almost as if amused by what he would view as cowardice. Armand then turns to El Pescatore, and he then issues to him, "And to you, El Pescatore, the defender, you will determine the method of this duel. Will it be daggers, staves, swords, or wands?" Without hesitation, El Pescatore says, "Swords." He draws his blade and tosses aside the scabbard. Armand shakes his head and clucks his tongue. "No, no, 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 no. El Pescatore, this will be a fair fight. Everyone here knows that you are no mere human. Therefore, to make this even," he snaps his fingers, and someone brings an ornate-looking box that is long, probably 4 feet by a foot, by about 10 inches deep. He brings the box to Armand and hands it to him, and you can see that this box, while ornate, at one time it looks like it has been beaten up, perhaps even discarded by someone. And he opens this box to reveal purple velvet lining the inside. And he reaches in and pulls out a matched set of blades. These beautiful swords that he hands one to Luke, taking his other blade from him. He then turns and hands the other to you, Lux. And he explains... go ahead, please.
Lux undoes his sword belt and hangs it on the same post, the ornate saber hanging there in its scabbard. He takes the offered weapon and gives it a few test swings and nods.
He explains to you that these swords are known as a silver spur. And you can see that this ornate saber has the basket and pommel and the decorative elements made of steel. The hand painting on the paneling is black and red, and it has this black leather-wrapped grip and studded with steel once again for better grip. The blade itself, however, is what shines the brightest, and you can see that it has been plated in gleaming silver. It will count as a rapier, even though it is technically a saber, and it grants a +1 to attack and damage rolls. In addition, the blade itself is, of course, silvered. He holds up his hands to the two of you to see if you are satisfied and ready.
Locks before nodding to Armand, would just sort of like briefly scan the crowd, seeing if he notices his friends present.
I think that Guillaume is there, without a doubt. And as it looks like the duel's about to begin, I can only imagine that he is laying down all sorts of arcane fanfare, loud trumpets, blasting, and him probably giving you a proper introduction.
He also might be placing bets against me, seeing as he's seen
Absolutely.
get absolutely wrecked by somebody else. So
what a great image! Like he plays you up to the crowd and then immediately turns to someone and gives odds for like you losing.
So Vera's definitely there. She probably, when she sees Locks put his jacket onto the post, she would walk over and pick it up and hold on to it for him, and then take the saber from him too. And I think there'd probably be a moment, maybe, if it's allowed. I don't know. Is it allowed? Can you approach a duelist before a fight or not? Is that allowed?
Approaching, I think so. There would probably be some stipulation about perhaps placing spells on a person who is about to enter duel.
Okay.
But
so,
depends on how sneaky you are, I guess.
Well, I mean, so she'd probably walk like maybe up to him and lean in and give him like this softest kiss on his cheek. And I'm going to just whisper in his ear, "You can do this. I believe in you." And I'm going to give him a inspiration to kind of hang on to while he duels.
Perfect.
Because that's not a spell.
Exactly.
That's just a cute girl giving you a kiss.
Right before a fight, what could go wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I love it. What are Chimeran and Sylvie up to? Or are they not there?
Yeah, Chimeran is definitely not present. So
Interesting. Okay.
his bright red hair and beautiful face is nowhere to be seen in the crowd, as he's still upstairs in his room, not knowing this is going down yet.
Well, to be fair, like if you're in the inn, what do we call it? The mischievous something. If you're in the inn, you can hear this outside. Like there's no not hearing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'd know what it was going on, to be honest. And
Perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah. At this point, he's probably not interested yet. We'll have to see how it goes.
Okay. Perfect.
I think Sylvie was inside when, things were starting to make a commotion, and Sylvie, being nosy, as Sylvie is wont to do, would go out, and then seeing that it's Locks, she would stay. And I think she would do exactly taking out a sketchbook and beginning to sketch some designs, just how the fight is going, the motions, and kind of that very abstract fluidity of the crowd and the emotion and all that kind of stuff. To someone else looking at it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to what she's trying, but to Sylvie, it is a reflection of what is happening.
Excellent. Yeah. Everybody, please take a point of inspiration. I love these characters so much, and I love torturing them. So we have the satisfaction as well as the method both determined. So the way that this is going to work, Matt, is that each of us are going to describe which skill you wish to determine, which you wish to use to determine the initiative order. So some common choices could be deception, insight, intimidation, performance, sleight of hand, whatever you want to make sense. And then we're going to need to roll that and determine who's going to get to go first. I am going with sleight of hand for El Pescatore. And I have that roll.
I think I'm actually going to go with intimidation, which is sort of thematically a combination of Locke's just being silent in the lead up to the duel, sort of ignoring Luke, revealing his old wound. And then as the duel begins, Locke's stands with his sword limp at his side. He doesn't have it in any sort of stance. He hasn't taken parry position. He's just standing there, stone face, staring at Luke.
Okay. Uh-oh.
No, it's good. It's good.
Oh,
I
good,
rolled
good.
a 19. I rolled a 19,
hell yes.
So I got
Okay.
23 total.
Ooh, okay, so I got an 18 total. So that means that Locks, you're going to win first strike. So I did sleight of hand for Luke. Okay, he, seeing this kiss that Vera has come forward and planted on your cheek, Luke moves to the side of the group, and he kind of grabs this kind of handsome, younger, kind of thief-looking individual, kind of closely cropped and groomed goatee, and he plants a big kiss on him. And the moment that he finishes doing that, he flourishes and turns around, swinging the sword at you in a surprise strike, trying to catch you unawares, but he does not succeed, and you are able to take the first official attack of this game.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and roll and then sort of describe what's happening.
Sure.
I'm going to be doing just an attack roll here.
Okay, excellent.
As my initial roll. 16 on the die for a total of 22.
Okay, though he rolled pretty well for like a defensive roll against the attack, he only managed to get a 20. So your hit will go through.
So I mentioned that Lox is kind of standing there, not in any sort of ready stance. And as Luke kisses this individual sort of on the outskirts of this circle and then spins to attack, Lox, without missing a beat, fluidly sidesteps. The blade just whispers past his side, and he brings the pommel of his weapon up into Luke's gut, doubling him over with this sort of like, poof, just like swift into the gut. And then he immediately swings the sword around into its proper grip and goes into like a sort of a loose, ready stance with this blade, holding it loosely, the grip not too tight, his offhand up, prepared to parry if need be. His style is sort of an odd blend of very proper traditional technique mixed with almost like knife fighting. Very unusual looking style that he's adopting here. And
where your stance is this kind of blend, this hybrid, Luke's is not. It is very much of the streets of Aladalgo, though there are manners of it that mimic the fighting style of lords and ladies in the upper crust of society. He reaches up and kind of pulls off this scarf that he wears kind of around his neck and kind of loops and drapes it in his offhand to kind of hold it almost the way a gentleman would wield a cloak, or a lady might wield a cape whenever they sword fight in certain styles. He falls back from this blow to his ribs, kind of righting himself and shifting his footwork somewhat in a defensive stance. He brandishes his sword at you and shakes his head. So, both of you have started with a d4 in this duel, but because you have landed the first blow, your d4 has now become a d6. You'll be able to hopefully find that in your corner of your picture there. And then Luke is currently at a d4. While he has staggered backwards, he shakes his head at this blow he feels he should have seen coming. He is then going to kind of feign forward and then make a side step to try to strike from an untraditional direction. He's going to use deception on this. How would you like to try to defend against it?
Let's go with, let's see, he's doing deception. I guess maybe insight or perception to try and basically judge his actual intent, trying to spot the feint.
Okay, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and do insight. That feels a little bit more inherent. 7 for me.
Okay. He is definitely going to bypass that with his 18. So this feint to the side is just enough to block your. He feigns to your to the side where you're missing the eye, and for just that brief moment, you lose his footwork and don't realize that he has completely shifted his feet and comes at you with a blindsided strike, and kind of nicks you across the top of your shoulder as you kind of dodge out of the way at just the wrong time. So he will now become a d6 as well. And it is your turn.
Lox feels the sting of the blade, and sort of mentally, just to himself, says, "You're faster than him, Lox, but he's a lot faster than he used to be. Don't drop your guard." I'm gonna try for acrobatics. I'm basically going to try and get him back on the defensive. I'm going to try and get on the other side of him with a sort of a tumble.
Okay.
So that is 12 on the die for a total of 17.
All right, let's see. So you're trying to tumble backwards. I think I'm going to go with intimidation, because he's basically going to make one of those kind of like repetitive lunges as he kind of like chases you with his leading foot, kind of trying lunges with his sword, following you as you tumble backwards. And what was your total again?
17.
He only got a 15, so that's another one that you are going to land on him.
So I think that I anticipate him following me, and I come up out of the tumble, sort of rolling forward. And as I come up with the blade and come up under his guard. And as he's lunging to where he thinks I'm going to be, I'm underneath his blade, and I stab upwards, nicking him in the torso with the tip of the blade, and then backing up and going back into my ready stance.
And you can see where this new cut kind of lies across this old scar, blood kind of running from his torso once again. And you realize that these cuts they're strange. Like they're definitely sword cuts, and it's definitely drawing blood, but you can't help but feel that this is not the weight of the sword that is doing this. That this silver is almost cauterizing with each of these cuts on this man. Definitely not the same as the last time you fought him. Okay, that has moved you from a D6 up to a D8. Luke is going to attempt I think he's going to attempt sleight of hand again. As you have slashed across his chest, he's kind of thrown his arms back wide at the sudden strike, trying to get his head out of the way mostly, so that you don't catch his face or his chin with that cut. And as he kind of recovers from it and looks down for just a moment, he sees your eye kind of follow his down to the cut on his chest. And in that moment, he kicks some of the muck and mud from the ground here up towards your face. Okay, how would you like to defend against this sleight of hand?
I'm actually going to try and contest with sleight of hand myself, and basically try to close the distance between us and sort of lock blades where I can get in close.
Excellent. Okay. Sure.
Oh man, it was on the 20 for a second and then it kept rolling. So that's a 2 on the die, so 7 total.
God. Okay. That's a dirty 20 from him with his sleight of hand, so that's going to be a blow that he also lands. So he throws this muck, and where you try to kind of roll in close, you end up almost just basically rolling straight into it, and you catch it straight in your good eye. And there's that knee-jerk reaction of kind of pulling your head back, and just as you do, you feel the fist that kind of holds this gathered cloth, this scarf that he was wearing, just sinks itself straight into your gut, just below your sternum. And you feel the wind kind of come out of your lungs.
Locks actually stumbles backward a bit, and I imagine there's kind of a collective gasp from the sort of collected crowd as he does so. He reaches up and wipes some of the muck from his eye and sort of blinks it away. It's still stinging in there. Who knows what the fuck is in this mud down here? As it stings his eye, he's just staring blurry at Luke. And he gives himself a moment. He's breathing hard. He feels sweat coming to his forehead. And he sees this man's face who's sort of bearing down on him. And it is the same face that was leering above him, wheeling back with these punches, hitting again and again and again. And Lox remembers the feeling, but more so he remembers the sound of his eye socket fracturing with that final blow. He remembers how it felt to feel his own skull collapse around his eye, the shards of bone. He remembers that sound, and he stands up straight, and there's sort of a crack as his spine rights itself. He flicks some of the blood from the silver blade, and he brings it up, and he says, "Come on, then." And I'm going to try and basically goad Luke into an attack here.
Okay, which one are you using? Which skill?
I'm going to use intimidation, and I got a total
excellent.
of 18.
Ooh, all right. Okay, I think he is going to counter with insight. I think he's going to try to see if he can read what you're trying to goad him into. Insight is wisdom. So, oof, not going to do it with a 2.
Okay. So Lox is standing there, blade out, his eyes still sort of half closed from this mud. And he says, "You didn't finish me last time. Why don't you come finish it now?"
He has this disgust that crosses his face, this look as if your tenacity disgusts him, and he fully buys into this challenge and will step close, perhaps a little too close, and that gives you the chance to be able to catch him unawares.
So I have a D10 now.
Yes, it's going to roll to a D10.
And he has a D6.
D8 currently.
Oh, he has a D8. Oh, yeah. Man. Okay.
Yeah, it's neck and neck. You have landed every single one of your blows, and he has landed every single one of his. It's tense. Okay. Now that he is this close, he attempts that maneuver where he slides his back against yours and tries to match your turning steps so that he's always behind you. He's going to use stealth. Okay, how would you like to counter this maneuver of his?
Oh, thank you, Kenya. I forgot I had that inspiration. Okay, I'm going to go with acrobatics again. I'm basically going to try and just deftly outmaneuver him. I feel his back against mine, and I can tell that I'm not going to be able to sort of turn to catch him, and so I'm going to try and just outmaneuver him where I can spin in such a way where his feet get caught, and I can turn and basically catch him catch his left or right flank. Excellent.
Okay. I've got my roll. You'll roll yours.
Yes. Acrobatics 17.
Okay.
A lot of 17s.
He also got a 17, which means with a tie. Let's see. What is it?
I think it might go.
I think it's both, actually. Yes, if there is a tie, the combatant who did not. Oh, no. That's for the final roll.
Yeah.
Where is it? Who wrote this? I'm just kidding.
Maybe I forgot. I may have forgotten.
I think each one of you increases yours on a tie.
Okay.
All right. So that's going to change his to a D10.
And mine to a D12.
And yours to a D12.
Okay.
Let's see.
Is it too late for me to just roll that bardic inspiration and break that tie? Can I do that?
Oh, no, I'm good with that.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we can assume that I just need a one or better to break the tie. So I want to be a couple die steps ahead of this guy.
Right. So that means that yours will advance to a D12 still, but his will remain as a D8 then.
Okay.
Okay. So how is it that this inspiration, or maybe even the kiss itself from Vera, has prevented a mutual stabbing with your blades?
So I think that Lox, as he's trying to outmaneuver, there's like a sequence of like 6 or 7 seconds where the blades do not touch. It's literally just Luke and Lox like rotating around each other and like trying to turn to catch each other, and they're just sort of almost like dancing around each other across this circle that has been arranged here. And I think that Lox starts to get frustrated, and he feels the grip on his sword tighten, and he remembers that it's not just him anymore. There are other people now that are tangled up in his shit. There are people now that count on him and depend on him. People he would hesitate to say, but more than likely would call friends. And he remembers Vera encouraging him before the match. He maybe even sees, the faces of these people in the crowd. And he realizes that this doesn't have to be the last duel. This can be a step on the path. And he'll maybe strike out with his boot just in time to sort of like catch Luke off guard, stumble him backwards, and break this sort of dance that they have going. And he raises the blade up, and he now has a few feet of distance between himself and Luke.
Absolutely. And Luke kind of catching his heel on the back of your own heel, but yours being firmly planted, kind of sends him almost reeling, almost toppling over as he kind of leans down and touches this offhand holding the scarf kind of against the mucky ground to stabilize himself before kind of spinning back into a stance. You can see there is concern on his face. He did not expect for you to have developed so much as a swordsman. He is surprised. Though his own skills have improved considerably as well since the last fight you had with him, his style of fighting dirty does not seem as though today is going to hold up against your own. Okay, you are at a D12. He is at a D8. It is your turn.
So I think that standing here with fear flashing across Luke's face, Lox remembers training in the courtyard as a child before everything went to shit, before he lived in the alleyways with people like Luke. He trained in this courtyard, and he remembers the tree in the courtyard, this beautiful white barked tree, this old olive tree, this stone beneath his feet, and his instructor, Diego, this grizzled old swordmaster. And Lox doesn't remember much about this period of his life, but he remembers Diego telling him, if you are winning, you must keep winning. Lox presses the attack, dashing forward with a speed that anyone who knows Lox has not seen him demonstrate. He is a flash of purple and blue and green, a blur, as he sidesteps, rushes forward, and comes in with this blade like he intends to kill Luke. I am going to use my inspiration to reroll.
Okay, hold on. Are you cashing in your roll? You're making a final.
No, I'm gonna attack. I want to see if I can get another more die on this guy before I cash it in.
I just wanted to make sure I was interpreting correctly. Okay.
Yes. Okay. 13 on the die plus 6, 19 for an attack.
That is certainly going to beat his defensive roll of 10. So you will now be at a D20.
Can I roll right into trying to end this?
No, it takes your turn to do so.
Okay, cool.
All right. So Lox goes from a D12 to a D20. As you charge forward, you can see, capitalizing on the surprise, on the concern that Luke seems to be feeling, was 100% the right call. And your sudden movement forward actually causes him to begin to stagger backwards on his heels, basically just bringing his sword up in time to deflect and parry most of your blows, but it's very clear that he is quickly exhausting, and the moment is near. But he's not out of this fight yet. and he is once again going to try sleight of hand against you. He brandishes a small knife that is hidden inside the folds of this scarf that he has been holding in his offhand. It is very difficult to even spot amidst the flowing lengths of this kind of checkered cloth. And he's going to attempt to shank you with it. How would you like to defend against this?
I'm going to use acrobatics to basically try and deftly move out of the way. I rolled a 14 on the die, which gives me a total of 19.
Okay. He got a 22 on his roll. So, though
That's all right.
sharp-eyed, you spot this small knife just moments before it plunges between your ribs. And just as quickly as it kind of made a flash, it's gone again amongst the folds of this scarf that he wields. And you see this wicked, crooked smile, one that Lox is not unfamiliar with, cross his face. You are at D20. He is at a D10. It is your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and end it. I'm gonna do the roll here.
Okay. So, if you had any other points of inspiration, it cannot be used on this final roll. This is just a pure naked D20 versus
Noted.
his D10.
Okay.
The higher of the rolls is going to win. If there is a tie,
I just need a 11 or better.
if there is a tie, the person who did not choose to end the duel is the winner.
Okay.
Okay, I have rolled.
I got 16 on the die.
He rolled a 1. So please, tell me how it is that you end this duel.
I see the knife. I see the flash of steel from the folds of the scarf. I avoid the knife. I see it flash past. I immediately loop my offhand around the scarf and grab it and wrap it around my arm. And now I have basically free range of his offhand. I pull it to the side, and there's as I dislocate his left arm, as he brings his sword around to try and strike me, I parry, lock the baskets, and force the blade from his hand, dropping it to the mud. And then I bring it right up to his neck, pressing the tip right up against his Adam's apple. And we're standing there for a second, and all I can remember is just laying there in the alley, blood flowing from my face, feeling the broken ribs, my fractured skull, feeling the eye just crushed, and hearing Luke say, "Leave him," as him and his cronies fled the alley. We're standing there, and there's maybe like silence in the crowd as it happened so quickly that this fight ended. And as Lox presses the tip into his neck just slightly, where there's just a trickle of blood from the neck, Lox says, "You were pig shit then, Luke. You're pig shit now. You always will be. Yield."
Do it, Lox. You know you want to. Little lord, come on. Do you have more courage than your family?
I drop the tip of the blade, and I actually grab him by the scruff of his collar and bring his face close to mine and say, I don't give a shit about you, Luke. I don't care enough about you to waste the energy it would take to end you. I'm going to forget about you after this. And I let him go.
The crowd begins to erupt with this mixture of cheering and conversation. One of their own, one of their family, has been bested in a duel, and it's obvious. Armand quickly sweeps in. Well, what a fight. Incredible, both of you. Performances I have not seen in some time. He turns to you, Lox, and he says, you fight very well. Where did you learn this?
Bit everywhere, I suppose.
Well, I'm very impressed. Just at that moment, there's a commotion at the far side of the clearing. You look and you see Luke is pointing this offhand, now uncovered by the scarf laying on the muck. And upon his ring finger, there is a silver band from which a streak of energy appears along its surface and then lances across the opening towards you, Lox, coated in silver gleaming energy. But before it reaches you, Armand turns and launches himself between you and the bolt of energy. The silver energy splashes into his chest, knocking him onto the ground and beginning to burn where it has struck him. You can see his skin searing and bubbling, almost as if extreme sunburn. Luke then turns and dashes into the crowd.
Can Sylvie run in there?
Mhm.
Sure.
As soon as she sees it, she's running in. She's tearing apart the upper layer of her skirts, and runs to Armand and is trying to place these pieces upon his chest where it was, and try to cast Cure Wounds on him using this fabric that she has.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, if you will go ahead and roll that.
It's a 10 points of healing.
Wonderful. So, anyone who is practiced in the arcane arts, probably at least Guillaume, would be able to tell the rest of the group that that looked like an Eldritch Blast spell. However, it was laced with something else. It was silver in nature, and it looks as though that may be why it has caused such an extreme reaction with Armand's chest. After a moment of your healing, Sylvie, he kind of sits up a little, like looking down. It is much appreciated, thank you, but it's one of my favorite shirts.
She peels away the fabric that she's just shoved onto his chest and looks, and she kind of looks it over, picks at the hole that is left. This is an easy fix. I fix for you very, very quickly. And I think if she can start casting mending that she has almost like instantly here in the screen, she takes this needle and this thread and just
perfect,
almost instantly. See, Your body is good as new, and now your shirt.
Yes, I was going to say, first you fix me, and then you fix my favorite shirt. Be careful, young lady, I may be in love.
Sylvie blushes this deep color as she looks away very, very quickly over to Locks. Are you okay?
Never better. I would look to Armand and say, do I have your leave to do what I need to do?
You wish to follow him, to end this.
Yeah.
The conversation we had before, the favor that I have asked of you. I feel the two goals are aligned with one another. I have suspected for some time that Luke is a part of this other group. They call themselves the Silver Sliver. And I believe that it was Luke's intention long before you arrived to make an attempt upon my life.
Luke's a coward, always has been. He saw an opportunity and he took it. It doesn't mean he doesn't have friends here, though.
Indeed. He is an ambitious young man. He is not without his skills, but it was always dangerous to wield him as a weapon, for it very often gave me just as many cuts as my enemies.
Any idea where he might be running to?
Well, I would say that he has long worn out his welcome here. My guess would be that he has gone to join the rest of the Silver Sliver. And where it is amongst their trappings, who knows? But I know that they are to the east of here. Navigating these tunnels beneath the streets is difficult for someone who cannot become small. And he kind of smiles again, that gold tooth showing. You may have to return to the streets of Aladalco.
Understood.
With that, congratulations are in order. Drinks are bought on Lox's behalf. More than Lox you would probably be able to drink. But other than whatever celebratory thing might be going down, what's the plan? What's the conversation like?
If Chimeran still hasn't come down for even this fight, Sylvie is highly concerned, and I think that's the first thing she would notice, and hightail it up the stairs.
Where is Chimeran?
Yeah.
Oh, Chimeran's in his room.
Oh, still in, okay.
Yeah, he had been spending all the time doing a thorough search, making sure there was no like magical listening devices, watching devices, that kind of thing, right? He was no peepholes, making sure, or if there were, at least that he knew about where they were.
I don't know that Sylvie like knew where Chimeran's room is, so you would hear Sylvie in the hall just Chimeran? Are you alive? Hello.
There's probably no answer right away, and you're probably getting a little bit what's the word? Concerned that you don't even know where. And you probably eventually get towards like the end of the hallway. And there'd be a door that's definitely closed. Like maybe some of the other ones were a little bit of ajar or something. There's definitely one that's closed, and you can hear noise on the other side of it. That kind
That
of
note.
stop, like maybe like a scraping of a chair on the floor or something like that.
As soon as she hears that noise, she's going to stop and turn and go to that door and ever so quietly turn the handle. And as she opens it, peers inside. Marin?
So as you open the door just slightly, I'm almost imagining that what you see is this like almost a vanity table with this polished silver, so nice reflection there. But sitting in front of it is this figure with the bright red hair falling in tresses down the back to like almost to the chair seat that you're sitting on. And you're struck immediately by a sense that Solana is sitting there in front of you for a moment. But then as you open the door and you make the sound saying Chimeran, the figure sitting there turns and you can see that it's Chimeran. He's in his kind of night attire. It's like he's gotten rid of the leathers that he's wearing, the outside dress he's got, but just a nice loose flowing shirt and pants on. And he still has this mask which covers his face, and that's what makes you recognize that this is in fact Chimeran.
I think you would definitely see the look of bewilderment on Sylvie's face, but in an instant, see the ever so slight shake of her head as she strides in, having her demeanor back. Were you so in love with yourself that you couldn't come downstairs for one moment? Lux almost died out there. She begins.
Lux can take care of himself. Me? I was taking care of myself. It's been a long day.
Disgusting. You are disgusting, she says as she sits down. But then as soon as you say that, she kind of looks at the chair and stands back up. And well, when you are finished whatever it is that you are doing, I don't want to know. You should congratulate at least Locks on his big success.
See? There was nothing to worry about. You just said it yourself. Locks won. I didn't need to be there.
Yeah, you see Sylvie just exasperated.
But it's late. There's a wonderful bed right here. You could just join me.
Sylvie just kind of scowls at Chimeran. But she pauses for a second as if she's genuinely just catches her for a second, but then no, you really need to go down and talk with Locks. I am serious. She wants to get behind him and just kind of start scooting him towards the door.
But I must get dressed.
I see nothing wrong with what you are wearing now.
Well, I might, give out the wrong idea. And I have women and men just falling all over me. Let me cover up.
She just stops. She does stop pushing him. That will be the day, she says as she leaves the room.
And all you can hear is this Chimeran laugh as you close the door. But then he will get dressed and come downstairs. He's a little disheveled. He's not taking as much time, but he'll come down.
Yeah, downstairs you can find wherever it is that Lox has settled. There's a throng of people that are just kind of pressing in, not attempting to be rude, but definitely each one of them wanting to get the chance to, slap him on the back, shake his hand, give him a drink. And Armand is kind of with Lox and is, talking to him and conversing with him, but also trying to keep some of these people back and letting him kind of giving him some space, realizing that he's just been in quite an ordeal. None of these people seem to really register that part.
I was going to say, I think Vera, having his coat and his saber, she would have walked up to him and returned him and helped him put his coat on. And as she slid it up over his shoulders, just kind of leaned into his ear and said, "See, I told you, I believed in you." And then give him a little pat on the shoulder and maybe loop her arm in his as they kind of walk back into wherever the tavern is. And she's going to do basically the same thing that Armand is kind of doing, but on the opposite side of him, letting people come up and congratulate him. But she's definitely playing someone would walk up and try to start to approach him and she'd be like, "Oh, darling, hold on one moment. He's in a conversation. And, oh, what's your name again?" And just start talking to them and kind of distracting people. And, "Oh, well, you know what? Why don't you go over here? Here, take this copper and go get yourself a drink over there and come back. He'll be free in a minute." And kind of occasionally pushing people away to give him space and working those bard skills to protect him. And she's also, the entire time she's doing this, part of the reason that she's doing it is there's something in her eyes. She's actually watching to see if there's any more of these people that are associated with Luke. She's watching his back for him, making sure that no one's attempting to sneak up behind him and, hit him with a dagger or something.
Lox is strangely quiet. And as soon as the duel ended and the party, as it were, kind of sort of moved back inside the tavern, he would have, sort of let Vera lead him over to the table and he would have sat down and accepted drinks. And he's listening, he's conversing with people, but very terse, sort of clipped, not saying much. When people sort of congratulate him, he just kind of nods and keeps drinking. And after a few minutes of this, he kind of just completely disappears within himself and is just kind of sitting there playing with this peacock feather at the table and just sort of barely acknowledging people and just nodding to them as they're speaking to him.
I think this is probably about when Chimeran finally makes an appearance. And he just kind of nonchalantly walks over to where Lox is sitting there playing with the feather, and Vera is trying to keep away people, and so is Armand. And as he's approaching the table, he just kind of grabs a mug from one of the passing trays that a waitress was taking to somebody else, and a hunk of cheese. And sipping on the tankard of whatever it is, he approaches the table and sets down the tankard right in front of Lox, kind of loudly, but apparently not enough to get Lox's attention. And then just reaches down, grabs the feather, and says, "Play with this," and then gives him the cheese. "I hear congratulations are in order."
Yeah, I suppose they are. Give that back, please.
Just wanted to get your attention. It's very beautiful. And he would put it, I think if you have like some sort of like a lapel or anything that's on your shirt, he would nicely kind of tuck it in there, pat it down a little bit and say, now that's where it's going to be. If you play with it, you're going to have it fall apart. And he will push himself down between Armand and Locks so that he's there right beside you.
Locks accepts the drink and the cheese, although he kind of just like is picking at the cheese, sort of letting it crumble and occasionally putting a little piece in his mouth. And as like the sort of excitement over the duel like starts to die down a little bit and fewer and fewer people are approaching him at the table, he's sitting there drinking and he looks to Armand and he says, I should have killed him. Should have killed him.
Sometimes it is mercy that is the tougher choice.
Well, and in this case, it was the wrong choice too. I should have killed the bastard.
Well, it is not the first time that the two of you have met, it sounds like.
Nope, there's a bit of a history there, yeah.
And the things that you have learned, and what you have done since the first time you met, it has made you who you are now. So perhaps, just as not killing him then was the right choice, maybe it was also the right choice for today.
First time we fought was a very different affair. It wasn't a duel.
Well, as I said, you handled yourself extremely well. I am very impressed. I am surprised that I have not heard of you before. Loxley? LaCroix? It sounds like it should be a familiar name to me, but it's not one that I can place.
Well, I'm from out of town, so.
I see. You. He then kind of turns to Chimeran. Are you also from out of Aladalgo?
Well, I am. I've just moved here a few years ago. I love the place.
It is certainly a city of opportunities.
That it is.
Interesting that you both have ended up here. Much to my luck, I suppose.
Chimeran just gives him a big, wide-ass grin.
Sylvie, are you back downstairs?
Oh yeah, she would have gone right back downstairs after she left. She's probably sitting nearby
Okay.
the group.
Wherever it is that you are sitting, through the crowd pushes a young teenage girl, the one that you spied earlier in the tavern, kind of tucked away in the corner. She walks straight up to you, without hesitating to make full eye contact, and she extends a small scrap of cloth towards you, kind of dirty and tattered, folded over on itself. She presents it to you in an upturned palm and just holds her hand out.
Sylvie, kind of respecting this silence that the girl has presented to her, will take, without a word, will take this scrap of cloth very carefully, just continuing to make sure that this is the right thing to do as she takes it gingerly and looks at it.
As you kind of fiddle with this folded piece of cloth and kind of pull it, you feel it has weight. There's something tucked away inside of it. And kind of as you jostle it about, this silver ring falls out of the cloth and into the palm of your hand. When you look up, the girl is gone again. But you recognize this as the ring that Luke used to shoot this Eldritch Blast spell.
Merde. Is Sylvie begins swearing and holds this ring and stands up and kind of looks around and spots Locks. And Locks, if you just make like the smallest eye contact with her, you see the immediate like alarm in Sylvie's eyes as she tries to make her way towards you.
Yeah, Lox would sort of recognize the alarm in your face, and in the middle of talking, he would just stand up and sort of meet you halfway. What's going on?
Sylvie gets very close to you, and you can feel that her hand, it's almost feeling like she's trying to hold your hand, but you feel the feeling of the ring between it, and she looks to you and this is the ring.
The one that Luke used.
She nods.
Where the hell did you get this?
I was talking about that girl who was sitting in the corner. Nobody really knows who she is. Well, she just came up to me, gave it to me, and then left.
Shit. Do we show Armand? Or do we keep this to ourselves?
It seems as though the girl may have nowhere else to go. She comes here almost every day. I don't want her to be involved if she is not, but clearly she is because of the ring. Sylvie just...
Yeah, I don't want to cause trouble for her.
Not until we know. Not until we know for sure what this means. She did give it to me, so that might be something.
Seems like something. Do you want me to hold on to this?
I do not want it. That thing, no. You have it.
Okay. And I'll tuck it into my jacket.
Have the two of you both kind of held it at arm's length while you were kind of looking at it? Has anybody actually inspected it at all? Or
I will inspect it. Yeah. I'll turn it over in my hands and kind of like look at it and see if there's any like noteworthy sort of designs on it. I will not point it at anyone though, because as far as I'm concerned, a gun is always loaded and this ring is can go off at any time. So I'm intentionally not gonna point it at anybody.
Okay. Kind of holding it up and kind of getting a better look at it. It looks to be a very simply made ring, though to your best judgment, it looks like it is real silver. It is actually, upon studying really close, especially to Lox's eye, this is a cheap piece of jewelry, like not well made, but it is very plain, and the only distinguishing feature is on the inside of the ring, there is a lotus symbol that has been stamped as a maker's mark. It is very small, but you can clearly see it whenever you find where it is on the inside of the band of the ring.
Is this a symbol that I've seen before or am familiar with at all?
I can't remember if it has been disclosed to the characters or not, but Guillaume knows the symbol.
Right. Okay, yeah.
I think he mentioned it with the letter because there was
Right.
a
Okay. I
flower
couldn't
he
recall
say
if he
that-
had.
Yeah.
He
His
tied
arch
it
nemesis.
to he tied it to a person and told us about it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you would know, because I think Lox might also know the same character. He disclosed that it is a rival of his named Lavinia.
Oh. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I see this symbol and it takes me a second, but then I go, that it's the thing Guillaume told us about, Lavinia's symbol.
Oh.
I don't know what the hell to make of this.
She just like sits back and is, this is all much too convenient, no? First, you meet your Guillaume meets his, try to frame him, and then you meet your rival.
Yeah, it all seems very convenient. You're right. Well, shit.
Maybe Armand knows something about the symbol. He knows about the other family.
Yeah. Okay, maybe we ask Armand about the symbol, but don't disclose the fact that we have the ring.
Yeah, Sylvie nods.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to the table where Armand is sitting with Vera and Chimeran, and I will just sit and grab my mug again. Sorry about that.
No.
Hey,
no worries.
Armand, while we're sitting here and, while we have your attention, you seem to be a resource of sorts, if you don't mind the phrasing.
It's fitting.
A few days ago, a little while back, we ran into some trouble with our friend over there in the corner, that Guillaume gentleman. And, he has reason to believe that a rival of his, a woman by the name of Lavinia, someone I'm passingly familiar with as well, may have been involved in it. And she uses a certain symbol, something like this here. And I'll grab just like a bit of parchment and sort of scratch it just with my fingernail against the table, sort of like a flower, sort of a blossom of sorts. Is that a symbol that you're familiar with or know anything about?
He kind of turns his head to kind of see the scratch marks that you've made a little better. Yes, I have seen this symbol before, a few places. It's interesting that this individual, whoever it is, runs some of the same circles as my family, but I am not sure who it belongs to.
Can Sylvie do an inside check on that?
Sure.
Because he knows everything about his family. So
Mhm.
Sylvie's a little suspicious. I'm going to use an inspiration. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. 13.
So it's pretty obvious to Sylvie. When Armand says this, there's just kind of a slight flash of his eyes kind of to the side, just kind of off and to the side, as if he's kind of thinking of the best way to phrase what it is that he says when he says that he does not know this person.
Sylvie kind of leans forward. Is there anyone we could speak with of your family who might know more information?
He almost looks wounded, as if to infer that he wasn't the most well-informed of his family.
That's exactly what she wants to do, seeing that he doesn't really know, hoping that he'll divulge in, yeah.
He says, you know that now that I think on things a bit more, there is perhaps an entry in some of my paperwork with this symbol. Maybe there is a name attached. It is simply slipping my mind at the moment.
Of course. Drinking, fighting, it's blurs the memory. That would be so wonderful if you could do that for us. It'd be such a help.
Perhaps this is a conversation best held in my office once again. With
I think
that,
Sylvie would nod.
Yeah, okay. With that, he kind of scoots back from the table and stands up, orders a round of drinks for the entire room, which kind of causes them to all erupt in a fanfare anew, and then he motions for those of you to follow him that wish, and he's going to head back to the back of the mischievous man-o'-war and find his office again.
Yeah, Chimeran has been watching this whole thing play out, watching Lox and Sylvie talking so dramatically together. He's just been like keeping an eye on, like, he has no idea what's going on because, not there. So he's just, his hackles are up at this point because something big is happening. And so, yeah, he's definitely is up almost as soon as Armand gets up and goes. He's right there with him.
Once, is Vera going as well? Yes? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as everyone starts to stand up, she gets up and follows everyone in also, having watched this whole interchange and the way Armand's kind of dancing around the subject.
Perfect.
Maybe Chimeran, as we're walking across the room, will be like whispering to Vera, like, what the hell is going on here? And maybe getting the lowdown.
Well, if you would have come down during the fight, you would have seen it and you would know.
Well, I wasn't going, how was I supposed to know Lox was going to get into a fight?
Because people were literally yelling, there's a fight in the streets. You couldn't hear it from down there? From up there?
I didn't know it was Lox.
I mean,
he's the last person I would have thought could have gotten into a fight down here.
She kind of looks over.
Well, Guillaume
really?
was the first person. Well, yes. I mean, I would expect
Guillaume
Guillaume
is the
to
first
get
person. No, Guillaume is the first person to get someone else mad enough at him to get
into a
in
fight.
In trouble. Guillaume would not get in the fight.
Guillaume himself is standing like right beside the two of you and looks also wounded.
Vera just looks over at Guillaume and she's like, I'm not wrong.
He just shakes his head.
She slides her arm into Chimeran's arm and leads him into the office.
As the last of you enter the office, Armand once again closes the door behind you. Again, this is a very well-appointed office, despite being in this beneath the city kind of squalor. A lot of the pieces look like they have wear and tear again, but it is still fine furniture and trappings. He kind of shuts the door and turns from the door and kind of studies the five of you for a moment, as if he's contemplating something. And then he seems to make up his mind and moves across the office to his chair. This kind of fine leather chair with a few patches, a few worn spots at the arms. He pulls it back from the desk and sits at it as if some magistrate. He folds his hands across the papers sitting on the table and he says, "There is something stirring in El Hidalgo, and my family is involved in it, deeply involved in it. There are people who are dying in this shadow war that we are fighting. I have to be very careful with who I trust. El Pescatore is evidence of my paranoia and my suspicions. I could use people who are capable, such as yourselves." He kind of looks squarely at Locks. "I have already asked a favor of you to intervene on my behalf with those who have sought to separate themselves from my family and to cause us troubles. This silver sliver, I cannot say that damn word. This silver sliver is the infantry which we now find ourselves facing. Their numbers have increased as of late, and I believe that this is being done on purpose. How do I know that I can trust you with more information? The way that things work here is a sort of barter system. Things must be traded. Information is what I deal in. If we are to be part of a family and be honest and open with one another, there is information I can give to you, but there must be an exchange.
What information are you looking for?
I look around this room and I see two newcomers who are very capable and wealthy. I see another, a dressmaker, well known. I see a madame of a very high-end brothel, and the son of a lord. Now, when I see these kinds of people come into my arms, come here to the court of the Forsaken, I ask myself, what is it that these individuals have to offer to me? So, as people who understand El Hidalgo, surely you know what secrets lie behind the masks of certain people? The pulse of the city, perhaps? And again, he kind of smiles and shows that golden tooth.
I know quite a few things about quite a few people. Things that you don't even hear whispered in the streets, the things that you only hear when the masks are off and the clothes lie across the floor. But I need to know what you want to know. What are your interests? What information do you need? What areas? Who in particular?
My interests are varied, but if I had to choose, he kind of gets up and moves to, again, this kind of crystal decanter that has a few chips and dings in it. But he opens the stopper and pours glasses, walking around and handing those of you that accept, a set of mismatched tumblers, once again pouring a drink for you each. The last, though, he brings to Vera, and he says, I knew that we would be good friends. And he kind of hands you this glass and says, if I had to choose, do you have any information about the Justicaros or the family of Torin Agnayase?
She puts the drink up to her lips and takes a small sip and kind of just locks eyes with him. I'm surprised we have not met prior to this. And on that note, Jeremy, do I have information on these people? Do I need to roll for it? How do you want to do that?
So, yeah, let's do a... Oh god, what would this be? I guess history might be the closest. Possibly diplomacy? Since it's kind of pillow talk that you're basing a lot of this on.
Yeah, so we don't have diplomacy. So since it's pillow talky, would it be persuasion?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That's my old edition showing through.
It's okay.
Yeah, persuasion.
Okay. So I will go ahead and do that. And so 16.
Okay. So in addition to the stuff that we have witnessed, here in the scope of the campaign, Torin being assassinated and the behavior of his family and such at the funeral, you would know that his, I think it's his son or grandson. I think it's his grandson. Where's the name? Marici Agnayasa, who is now kind of being considered as the consigliere's replacement, that he was disavowed from his family until about a month ago, and that his reunion, this quote-unquote happy family reunion, was facilitated by none other than the Padre Primero, the equivalent of the Pope.
Would she know anything about when it was being facilitated, who was the most reluctant to accept it? Like, who was the last person in the family that was convinced to accept the wayward grandson back? The hardest sell.
So, up until his death, was
him.
the grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah, Torin. He refused. It is rumored.
Okay. So she'd finish the sip of her drink and she'd repeat all of this to him and saying, but I find it very interesting that the only member of the family to refuse is now dead. And Why would one such as the Padre care so deeply about this type of connection?
The Padre Primero.
Yes. He facilitated the entire reunion of the family. The wayward grandson is now looking more like the favored son.
And he is now in line to inherit his title.
To inherit everything, I would think.
This is interesting. The Agnese family are the largest producers of silver in Gerdes. They own more mines than the rest of the families combined. You saw the spell that Luke shot at me, that hit me. Well, I suppose he shot at you, to be fair. He kind of looks at Locks. I believe that was a spell from his ring. And we have seen a number of these rings cropping up all over the city for sale. Cheap.
It's interesting. She kind of looks like sideways at the rest of the group, and unless he's moved, she's like looking, still right at him, but her eyes kind of scoot over to the group for a second, and she just. Silver seems to be a common thing as of late. And kind of just leave the tone hang in the air. And anyone with enough can tell that she's kind of poking that bear of, do we mention what we know to him?
So what of the flower that we had asked? What does this have to do with any of that?
These rings are stamped with a maker's mark that matches the description, the scratch that Locks made. Whoever it is that is crafting these rings seems to be connected to this mark. I believe that this mark belongs to a woman named Lavinia Strozzi. She moonlights as a lesser noble, engaging in the various things that nobles do. He kind of looks at Guillaume. But she is also a skilled assassin. She has become more enterprising as of late, it would appear. As I said, these rings can be found on almost every street corner, in every shop. Every peddler who is selling magical wares seems to have several of these rings. They're called the Ring of the Duelist. They deal damage as the magic would normally, but more than that, it is even worse against lycans like myself. I think that these rings are being flooded into the market as another front for us to fight our battle against. Now every thug, every ne'er-do-well that is in the streets of Aledargo is armed with silver. It makes it very hard for us to do our work.
Who would have it in for you the most? Who wants to see you stop your enterprise the most?
He returns to his desk and sits. He kind of leans back in his chair, kind of leans against one of the arms. And again, he contemplates the group of you. You can see him weighing something in his mind. There is a powerful vampire at work in Al Hidalgo. He's been trying to work the machinations of the city. My family has been working to try to undermine that power play. It is difficult so far, but we are not alone, and we are doing what we can to destabilize this vampire.
I'm sorry. A vampire.
Yes. Immortal. A being older than anyone else you know.
Just double checking.
Yes, your concern is warranted.
Does this vampire have a name?
Sadly, this vampire has not shown themselves to me yet. I am still uncertain as to their identity, but if I find out, then perhaps I will let you know. If, in fact, we can be counted to be on the same side.
So this silver sliver, they're in cahoots with the vampire then?
I believe that is the case, yes. I believe that this vampire has driven a wedge into my family with the intention of weakening our numbers, turning them against us, dividing our attentions.
Why would members of your family who are also were creatures, why would they work with a vampire who was attempting to flood the streets with silver weapons to be used against you? It seems it goes against their best interest.
Fox, they might not even know that he's pulling their strings.
Well, that's a good point.
I do not know what their level of awareness is as to what is going on. They began as a small group of people who were not happy with the way that I was running things, and were vocal about it, which is perfectly fine. I welcome discourse amongst my family, but it became unhealthy. There were killings, which is why we now observe the rules of dueling. We have adopted the order of the street to keep some manner of law here. But now their numbers are growing too strong, and they are undermining the jobs that we are attempting to carry out in secret. They know too many of our ins and outs, our secret passages, our contacts. You may have noticed a rash of murders across the city lately. He kind of raises an eyebrow.
We're familiar.
And that is why I have turned to you. Not one of you, I believe, is a were-rat. Therefore, I know that you are not a part of this silver slither. God damn it. Silver sliver. I hate myself so much right now.
You have no one to blame but yourself.
Yep, it's all you, buddy.
So bad. So I know that you can be trusted, at least as far as not being on their side.
Farah would move over to the corner of his desk and kind of sit up on the edge of it, kind of propping herself up on it, and maybe like spin the glass of alcohol that she has, kind of just watching it move inside. She would say, well, in the efforts of building a new friendship and sharing information, we have recently found out that we've bore witness to someone having magical capabilities of putting silver inside of vials and injecting people with it.
You see his eyes kind of go wide, once again with genuine concern. That is truly terrifying news.
I think you need to be aware that the rings are probably not your biggest concern. While I can't entirely connect the rings with this other method of silver manipulation, if the wrong people on the wrong side find out about it, you will have bigger problems than worrying about dodging a ring blast.
Who is it that has this liquid silver? Where have you found such a thing?
She kind of looks over at Sylvie like, happened at your shop, it's your story if you want to tell it, kind of a look.
That is how the Terrine, that is how he was killed. So we know that the murderer has access to these liquid silver. And I forget, she did give one dart to the just car. Yes, she did.
Yes.
Answer my own question.
You gave the empty one.
Mhm.
Yeah, the empty one. And then we gave the girl, Guillaume's future bride, we gave, I think, 2 of them, right? And then didn't we keep 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
you have a couple of them left. I think Austin probably has it written down exactly how many there are, but it should be just a few.
The Caro were very interested in the metal weapon.
But was the consigliere a lichen? Armand kind of looks.
So he just shrugs.
Until we met you, we did not know you existed.
I see. This is interesting. Perhaps these two methods are being produced by the same person or people.
Perhaps.
It
Or
seems
as I
as though this would require some large amount of silver. It would only make sense. Somehow, perhaps the Agniase, or maybe even their rival families, are somehow involved.
I think at this point, Sylvie looks to Locks. I think that maybe it was a good thing that you did not kill your enemy. It looks like we have a lot of questions for him.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think he has a part to play yet. And hey, maybe I'll get another chance.
I think that that is our first step. We know he is involved, and she turns back. You don't know where they like to hide usually, or do we just wait until they pop out of the shadows again?
As I said, there is intelligence that would suggest that they have built their home somewhere to the east, though we have not discovered where yet. It is known that one of our old secret passages up on the streets is frequently used by them, one that is no longer used by us because of the danger it possesses. He describes a stone wall that slides open and reveals a passageway behind it. And it is one that your group has come into contact with before. I can't remember which it is. I think it might have been Guillaume that witnessed it opening and closing.
Yeah.
But he, at the very least, would recognize the description and be able to recall which passage it was and where it was. All right. As it seems apparent that the conversation with Armand may be over for the moment, as you are going to leave his office and then discuss exactly what the plan is next. We're going to go ahead and take our break. So we're going to take 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, refill our drinks, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. This has been incredible so far, and I can't wait to get to the little bit that I have on deck for the second part of tonight's game. If you're tuning in this evening, thank you so very much, and stick around. We will be right back. right. Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of tonight's episode of Evermore le Masquerade. This is session number 5, titled Eye for an Eye. I mentioned at the beginning how much I love this game, and those of you who are watching, if this is the first time you are tuning in now, you understand why, I hope. But I'm really excited to get to the second part tonight. We have just had a duel between Lox and someone from his past. An individual once known as Luke now goes by the title El Pescatore. And though Lox won the duel, the underhanded El Pescatore attempted to blast Lox with a strange silvered version of Eldritch Blast from a ring that he had borne on his finger. Instead, Armand kind of jumped in front of it, and the discussion has now taken place between Armand and the party, where information was traded between the two sides. There were a few big reveals for both parties, and the ring, secretly, was given, the ring that El Pescatore used was secretly given to Sylvie. So now that you are leaving this meeting that you have had, the second in as many days, with Armand, the Saint of Rats, and you have gotten these new pieces of information, when we find the 5 of you gathered together again, how does that conversation go? What's being brought up? How are your characters dealing with this new information?
I would assume that we went into one of our rooms, correct? So we can... Okay, so... Farah would walk into the room and pour herself another drink. And maybe sit on the end of whatever bed is in the room. Just, well... I thought rats were going to be the biggest discovery of the evening. Thoughts? Comments? Questions?
I've got plenty of all of those. I think that it actually kind of makes a weird sort of sense, doesn't it?
That they exist or that they hate each other?
Well, both of those things, but I think the main thing is that they're potentially that this vampire fellow is, well, that they're involved in whatever the hell's going on here in Aladago. It just sort of fits, I guess.
I want to know how much this Lavinia knows, because her hands seem to be in so many of these pies.
Listen, I know Guillaume pretty well, and I know Lavinia a little bit, and if we get Lavinia involved, it's gonna cause problems.
Yeah, I think Guillaume at the very least is reticent to have a run-in with Lavinia.
No offense, Guillaume, but you were at your absolute worst around Lavinia.
But she knows something. She knows a lot of some things. Her mark's all over this.
And she also tried to frame me for murder.
She also parades herself as some kind of noble. She could potentially, with our resources be the most accessible right now of the ones that we need to talk with.
It'll certainly be easier to get in touch with her than find wherever the hell Luke is in the sewers.
I agree. I don't think that it will be too long before they come out of the shadows again, but they are probably hiding right now. This was a big show.
Also, just speaking frankly, if Luke is anything like he was 15 years ago, he'll want to get even with me. It might be easier to just let him come to us.
Hmm. Maybe I could hold a small brunch at my shop. Invite all the ladies. They get to see new fabrics. They get to eat. It is something that perhaps Lavinia would have to come to keep face. It is an option.
It's not a bad idea. Good front. Get her to a place where she feels comfortable. Guillaume wouldn't be there. That's a big plus.
He seems upset. Even though he just admitted to not wanting to be around her, he seems upset by the idea of having to miss out on a social gathering.
I could show off the fabrics, and at the very least, Vera could be there to kind of converse and prod.
Two of my favorite things.
Please take a point of inspiration. Okay, so this sounds like then maybe this is the plan moving forward. All right. So, are you wishing for Armand to kind of guide you back to the surface via gondola, or would you rather try to find your way on foot? How is it that you want to re-enter the city of Aladalgo proper?
Well, are we spending the night down here though? Because we were
You certainly
offered these
can.
rooms and stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I don't really want to go up on the streets with not
Plus,
resting.
Plus, it would look really suspicious if Armand told us all this stuff and then we're like, okay, bye. Thanks. So, yeah, I think
Fair
at
points.
least staying here a little bit.
Okay. Is it just the one night, or do you want to stay, further time the next day to try to prepare or anything before you head back?
What do you guys think? Should we stay multiple evenings?
If we want to lure Luke, you say, out, then maybe not staying here too long could help that. So while you ladies have your party, maybe the three of us could do something that would lure Luke to us. Deal with that.
It is a really brilliant idea. I am surprised.
Chimera just chuckles at you, gives you a huge old wink and a kiss. Like a blow kiss.
Are you going to start spreading rumors to attempt to make him feel inadequate? Taunt his manliness so that he wants to come after Locks faster? That everyone is
We-
laughing at him?
We have something of his that he might want back. I know it is sold everywhere, but he seems like someone who might be a little possessive.
Oh yeah, forgot to tell you guys, we got the ring.
Oh, wait. How?
How?
I'm still a little hazy on it myself, but little kid helped us out.
Are they... Can they be used multiple times? Or are they one time? Do we know anything about it? Have we tried to use it?
I haven't, but we could certainly try. That's elsewhere, not in the building or anything, and certainly not pointed at anyone, but we could give it a shot. From the sounds of it, it sounds like they're not super well made, so it might be a one and done situation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
My theory is that it is a one and done situation, and it's silver, so probably wasn't great for Luke to be carrying around. Once he popped it off, he just dropped it.
Make the most sense.
Now that Armand had mentioned that they're kind of sold in all the markets, does that ring a bell for maybe how much they go for? Like how much they cost?
Yeah, let's see. Roll me a investigation or perception roll. And you do a lot of purchasing of typically fabric, not necessarily typically jewelry, but I would imagine that there's probably a similar, a pretty large overlap in those kinds of circles. You can have advantage on this.
Okay, 15.
Okay. So you've come across a number of these rings before, and I think that you've kind of missed the fact that they were so common because of how poorly they're made. It's very easy to kind of like overlook and just no, that's nowhere near good enough. But kind of recalling where you might have seen one before, you recall like a small exchange of one of these being purchased. They seem to cost 100 gold pieces from your experience. And again, almost every jewelry or silver merchant has several of them on hand.
So 100 gold pieces is nothing to sneeze at, right? Like that's pretty...
No, it's certainly not the kind of thing that you would expect a common person to be able to afford. Some lesser nobles might spring for one, perhaps, but typically they would spend their money on jewelry that would look more appealing. For someone like Luke to have it, your best guess is he probably took it off of someone's finger or out of someone's store.
Okay. Yeah, she'll make that comment then about the price of the rings.
I don't understand. If Armand said that they were getting flooded, why are they priced so high? Wouldn't you think it would be smarter if you were trying to use them in a war to keep them priced low?
Well, he did mention that the silver sliver, I said it right first time. He mentioned that they were foot soldiers, infantry. It could be that the nobles here in Aladago are getting involved, buying these rings, handing them out to their cronies, that sort of thing. 100 gold is more money than most folks will ever see, but it's a drop in the bucket to most of the nobles here in the city.
Guillaume will add that many items that are enchanted with magic go for far more.
then perhaps it's not one and done. Perhaps it is still usable and
Wait, hang on. Give me a second. Jeremy, I'm going to lift up my eye patch and cast Detect Magic and look at the ring.
Okay. Doing so, you get that sensation, that overlay of, almost augmented reality, that kind of like overlay on this ring, and you can definitely sense that there is magic that courses through this thing's fibers, but it seems as if it is dormant, asleep.
Okay. I put the eye patch back down. Well, it's there's still some magic to it, but it's not active. I think whatever spells in it was spent. But it might recharge. Maybe it just takes a bit.
sounds.
Wait, you can tell that just by looking at it with your non-eye? Lox, you surprise me every single day.
Well, I like to keep things interesting, I guess.
So the plan is then to have Sylvie have a party at her shop. We will both attend. And then you three are going to start rumors and try to get Luke to come out of hiding.
Personally, I don't think we'll have to do much. I think Luke will either find me or he won't. And if he doesn't come to me, I don't mind wading through shit here in the sewers to find him. But yeah, party at Sylvie's shop. And honestly, with all the shit that's been going down, I don't think we should stray too far from each other. I think if Luke comes calling with a bunch of his boys, we'll want all of us there. Likewise, if shit goes down at the party, you'll want us close.
Sylvia, is there a building near your shop? Perhaps across the street?
Yeah, I would
They-
imagine so. Yeah, her shop is near the main square where the fountain is, just off
Some-
of it.
Something where they could spend maybe a restaurant or a cafe or something where they could spend their time while we have the party?
Certainly.
Okay.
How quaint, a restaurant or cafe. Why not a gambling den?
Is there a gambling den nearby, Sylvie?
Sylvie pointedly looks at Chimeran and just, no. Even if there was, Sylvie would still just say no.
Well, we could make one. Chimeran looks to Lox.
Okay, then I guess we should say goodnight tonight. Get our rest. Chimeran, you got your own room. Sylvie, you and I? And then I believe Lox
Yeah.
and Guillaume.
Guillaume and I are bunking.
Okay. You each turn in for the evening. It takes hours for the din downstairs to quiet. to the point that it makes sleep easy, although perhaps not as much for Locks. I imagine that the exertion of the physical side of the duel, not to mention whatever emotional weight that probably came along with it, probably makes sleep very easy to find for Locks. But eventually all of you are able to drift off and get the rest that you feel you need. Again, the beds here, though they are worn, they are clean and they are dry, and it is fairly warm down here. So you get a good full night's worth of sleep. And in the morning, you awaken and nothing is out of place. Your doors are still shut and locked if you did so before you went to sleep. And you can hear just the beginning kind of stirrings of a few of the patrons downstairs. So, if you are indeed setting out today, how is it that you intend to return to the city of Alidalgo?
I think that Sylvie would probably prefer by gondola back up, since that's the way we came down. She just doesn't want to get lost.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And perhaps Sylvie and Vera should go in one and the other three in another, so that as we come up off of the streets, onto the streets and stuff, we're not actually in a big pile if we're trying to put on this, I don't know, show.
Okay. And you wish to then return to the city kind of in plain view, as it were, not beneath, the same canvas tarp that you came in on underneath. Okay. So after speaking with Armand, he will, tag a couple of his gondoliers who are in the family to take two separate boats, one containing Sylvie and Vera, back in the direction of Sylvie's shop, and with Chimeran, Locks, and Guillaume in a slightly different route, so that the times that you arrive will be decidedly different. As you are kind of moving your way through the streets, it's very clear that the Justicaros are still out and about, though not with as much vigor as they were the previous evening.
I think for Sylvie, she doesn't want to make any kind of scene and would just stay as quiet, but also as inconspicuous as possible. Just not trying to make it look like they're trying to avoid the Justicaro.
Okay, so I am going to need a stealth roll from each of the two individual boats. Amongst the two and the three of you, you can decide who will make that roll. And if the other occupants of the boat have some way of assisting, then you can take the help action and roll with advantage.
So I have a +3 stealth, but I also have disguise kit. So maybe as we're going up in the boat, I can start doing some makeup up on us and stuff, and kind of maybe contouring our faces and stuff, and changing how we look, and all that.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So do you wanna, maybe you can work some magic with your fabric stuff, and not literally magic, but
Yes, yeah.
rearrange our layers and stuff. So do you want me to roll then?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I think using kind of maybe the tarps and any other kind of natural fabric will just change maybe how we look underneath the fabric.
Okay. And then so with advantage, and then if I use the disguise kit on us too to help do makeup and stuff, that's an extra proficiency added onto that, or how does that work? What do you do for that, Jeremy? For kits? It's never really clear in D&D. It's always kind of
it's
DM
it's always
choice.
kind of a skill roll. So let's see. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I will let you use your charisma instead of your dexterity, which is what stealth would usually be queued off of. So you can queue your stealth roll off of charisma, and you can have advantage from Sylvie's help.
Okay. So it's the first roll. I did not roll well. 13. I rolled a 9 with advantage, and then +4 for the. Oh, wait. But I am proficient.
So then your proficiency would go in as well.
So it'd be 6 or 9. Okay, so proficiency. So it'd be a 10. Or wait, sorry. Now I'm mathing and I'm all confused, changing the stat on me. Confused me.
Okay,
so my stealth was a +3, but that was with half proficiency because my dex is a 2. So I actually doubled my thing. So it would have been a 4 +1, 5 +9, so 14.
Okay, excellent. And then it sounds like Chimera might be making the roll for the other gondola.
Yeah, and I think I don't actually have a disguise kit myself, but I am very proficient at changing the way we look and such. So for this one, Chimeran is hiding the red hair up underneath a like a hat, like a big old hat. We'll put the hair up, so that's at least a little bit of a change. Maybe switch out the mask as well that he wears. I'm not sure about Guillaume. Guillaume has got his own magic tricks to like change his appearance temporarily. I think with the prestidigitation or whatever.
Yeah, I think he does.
So then, so I think with like things like that, we can change our appearance slightly so that we're not as noticeable. Yeah.
I'm still Lox is still all dirtied up from he kind of like turned his coat inside out and put dirt on his face and stuff.
That's
while we
right.
were down in the sewer. So I don't know if that would help at all, but
yeah,
he definitely looks a little scragglier than he did before he went down.
Perfect. So I definitely think that would be enough between the actions of Lox and Guillaume to grant you advantage, Chimera.
Okay. Oh. I rolled a 7 and an 8. Yay. So that'll be a total of 14.
14 on both. Okay. As it so happens, I rolled very poorly for the Justicaros, so it seems as though the disguises that the two of you, both sets of you, kind of come up with seem to be sufficient to slip past the notice of the Justicaros, who frankly look a little harried, a little worn from probably all night out in the streets. The amount that you're seeing is double probably any like one watch worth of guards. It definitely looks like they're out in droves, but all of them seem very tired, either risen in the middle of the night from their beds or having walked around all night. And you're able to slip past them without being noticed. So you're able to arrive at Sylvie's shop, where you begin to make your plans for hosting this party. So how are you going about that? How are you going to get invitations into hands, and what is the premise?
I imagine that Sylvie knows a lot of the personal maids, like the handmaids of the ladies. She's kind of probably on par with that class, I would imagine. So she would spend, with the help of Vera, probably the better part of that day just crafting some very lovely invitations with, penmanship and perfume and all of that kind of stuff. And it is meant to be under the guise of Sylvie has this amazing new fabric that is going to be the absolute obsession of any lady at the next ball, and this is to showcase it, and kind of not like a bidding, but kind of this is something very exclusive, and Sylvia is only making it for the highest payer, the one that is the most interested in it, and this is her chance to showcase it. I would imagine that maybe Sylvie has done this once before, to showcase, like, if that's okay with you, just before maybe a particular party or something that's coming up. She's done this kind of gimmicky thing once before, and so she would design these invitations and kind of really make it like anyone will be there, and we'll send it to give to the maids and the ladies who support these noble women in order to give to their.
Is this the kind of thing that you would like deliver into the hands of one of these like handmaids?
As much as she can, she would probably maybe know where they go after they're done.
Sure.
And as many as she could, she would try and do that. But I would imagine as well, she would probably, if she sees like a footman or something like that as well, if she would give them to them as well.
Yeah,
trying to keep it as close to people who work in that household as possible.
Right. Okay. So I think it's at kind of one of these kind of like after work socializations. That it might not be quite as rowdy. I doubt it's anywhere near as rowdy as, where you came from, the mischievous man o' war. But it's a chance for them to kind of cut loose outside of the the gaze of their employers, and so you're able to find one of them that you're kind of looking for, one of the particulars, and you notice whenever she sees you approaching her, she acts strange, almost kind of like looking from side to side, almost maybe embarrassed.
Is this the first one that she sent this invitation to, or is this not? Is this?
I think this is probably the first one. I think this is probably the first one that you've handed over in person.
Okay. So I think Sylvie would at some point, after I'm sure trying to discreetly, politely talk to this woman, will at some point just kind of grab her arm and just bring her over to the side.
She's kind of surprised by the almost the abruptness. What can I do for you?
She gives I'm just going to call her Helena, a very strange, if that's right, very kind of strange look. Is there something the matter?
She looks kind of around to see who might be able to, who might be looking or who might be overhearing this conversation. She shakes her head. No, of course not, Miss Levine. Just some rumors of the company that you have been keeping is perhaps less than savory.
You see Sylvie's eyebrows raise at that statement. Oh, yes. And what are they saying about the company that I am keeping, Helena?
Again, she seems almost embarrassed, but like as if this gossip is just like bursting to get out. She says, there is someone who saw you with Monsieur de la Stote the other night, running to the streets. I thought maybe that was interesting, since he is a criminal.
Sylvie barks out with laughter, just, that swine. No, you are very much mistaken.
I see.
I am where I always am. At my shop, dreaming of beautiful dresses for your ladies to wear.
In that case,
May I ask, do you know who is saying this? So I may set the record straight with them.
she kind of looks again around, kind of bashfully, and it's very clear that in this place, in this tavern, that everyone in the immediate vicinity, their conversation has dropped to a dull roar, and they're very much eavesdropping.
Yeah, Sylvie's trying to keep it as pleasant and her eyes as bright and smiling and just try to laugh it off. If you want to make me to make like a deception check to see how well I can.
Let's make a performance roll.
Ooh, okay. E, that's a 12.
Okay. Let's see. Well, okay. So you're fairly concerned that this like fake casualty with this conversation is not coming across, that it wouldn't normally pass inspection, but the people who are eavesdropping at the very least seem to be very eager to hear whatever is being said, and they don't really care whether or not it's like casual conversation or if it's serious. If it's serious, probably even better.
Okay. So Sylvie, she's sensing this, maybe not wanting to get the name. Changes tactic, and she is going to hold out this invitation to Helena. Well, you know me and you know my dresses, and was it not your lady at the last party who all of the gentlemen suitors were absolutely gushing over her dress? I am certain that she will want this next dress. And she winks at Helena and just, perhaps it is a bit of a more scandalous dress, you know, with all the places I've been. And she just smiles again. Would that not be so salacious, she says, as she looks to all the other people who are listening into this.
who all very quickly, look like they're minding their business. Kick up their conversations, and Helena kind of looks around and realizes that, at least for now, they're all pretending to be busy. And you can see that it's definitely an appealing thought. She says, well, I am sure at the very least the conversation will be interesting. And she kind of reaches and carefully takes the invitation from you. I will give it to my mistress.
She smiles coyly and just, your mistress won't forget it. And we'll then begin passing around. We'll leave. Actually, she'll just pause and then she'll leave at the stack of the invitations on the table, kind of do a look around the room with a smile, and then leave.
Fantastic. Okay. While Sylvie is doing that, what are the other three of you kind of getting up to in the meantime?
I think Lox would, if he is able to track down some of those alley kids that he's got sort of running around, and just sort of let them know to keep an eye out for Luke, and to let him know if they see this Luke guy or anyone associated with him up on the surface.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, you probably have to deal with the the 12-year-old kid, the one who kind of seems to be the ringleader of this gang, and it looks like all business dealings are done kind of through him. And when he agrees to keep an eye out for you, he kind of just stands there again with his hand outheld and just kind of.
And as Lox is fishing around in his coin purse, he says, y'all have a bigger kid who picks on you sometimes, bullies you, roughs you up, pushes you around, that sort of thing?
Yes. He kind of looks incredulously at you.
I hand him a silver piece. This Luke guy was mine.
Okay. Consider it done, senor. And he kind of turns and runs off with a little more vigor. Okay. Anybody else? Vera, Chimeran?
Vera probably, after helping Sylvie create her invitations and get those all ready, she probably had a specific few that she took back to the Castillo and gave them out to the girls there, well, the guys and the girls, and for very specific people to make sure that they made it into the hands of certain lords and ladies of the city that Sylvie wants invited, that she knows frequent. There's probably regulars that show up every Thursday or whatever, and so she's at the Castillo and handing the invitations out, and then taking the time to get dressed and do all of that to get ready for the party.
You're kind of getting ready at some point, and there's a knock at your door.
Enter.
Gabriella enters, and she says, "Forgive me, madame, but there is someone here to see you. It is a Chastacaro," she kind of whispers.
Did you tell him I was here?
She seemed to know that you were here. She demanded to see you. She threatened to close us down if you do not speak with her.
It's fine. Let her in.
She kind of nods and then heads back to the door. And after just a moment, the door opens and you see a familiar Justicaro enter. The half-elven woman again wears the red cloak that is befitting the Justicaros, and the wide-brimmed hat, which she removes and kind of holds in front of her as she enters your room. Forgive the intrusion, madame, but I was told that you had made some contact with a man by the name of Guillaume de Lestote.
Vera gives her this very kind of disgusted look as soon as she hears Guillaume's name, which is in no way deceptive. It's completely on the up and up. She's just like,
he was
him,
seen
yes.
here a few nights ago, and according to some, you were seen with him last night, fleeing the scene of a crime.
He has been here before to do what it is that is done here. I was not with him last night.
I see. Do you know his whereabouts?
No, I don't actually care for him much myself, so I don't really keep tabs on him. I have others who are much more interesting and important to worry about.
I see. Well, for what it is worth, we believe that he may have been involved in an assassination of one of his classmates, so should you come across him, you should tread lightly.
Should I come across him, I will be sure to let you know when I see him.
That would be very appreciated, but I am being removed from this case. You will have to contact the Capitan of the Justicaros. Capitan Roccatore will be now handling the investigation.
New assignment?
She just smiles. I am not told these such things. I am merely following the orders I have been given.
Well, just know that whatever your new orders are, you're always welcome here.
She smiles, but it's a weak smile. You can tell that it looks like the fact that this case is being taken from her is a bitter pill to swallow.
I think she would, kind of going on that, she'd... Did she shut did the door get shut behind her when they came in, or is it still open, or?
I think Gabriella probably closed it.
Okay. And she would look at the woman and you seem upset. It's just us.
I am a Justicaro. I serve Evendel. It is never just me and one other person.
What can you tell me about your replacement? I'm unfamiliar with the name.
You are unfamiliar with Capitan Roccatore. She looks kind of, again, just
Wait.
incredulously.
Wait, do I know that one, Jeremy? Do we know that captain?
You probably at least know him by reputation. You have seen him once before. He was at the funeral gala.
Oh, he's that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
he is the right-hand man of the Padre Primero, and he is the head of the Justicaros. You also know, and I don't think you know to what extent necessarily, but you know that Loxley has no love for the man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you had said before. I thought you said some other name.
Mm.
Yes, I'm familiar with him.
Yes, he is. Well, he is good at what he does. I suppose that he will be able to get to the bottom of this recent crime spree better than I.
He's close with the Padre, yes?
The Padre Primero, of course, he is the head of our church.
Mm-hmm.
Being the Capitano de Justicaros, serving Evandel is his first duty.
Would you like a drink or something while you're here?
She kind of looks around. Make me a persuasion roll.
One second. 24.
Holy shit. She looks around the room for a moment, and I would imagine that Vera is absolutely no stranger to the look of like repressed desire. And this woman, her name is Justicaro Rosaru. She is absolutely just kind of like drenched with this repressed desire. She says, I'm not certain that it would be proper for me to accept such an offering. There are others I should perhaps question.
Vera would listen to her comments, reading her the entire time, and walk over to the door to the room and kind of click the lock shut on the door, and then walk over to where the drink table is and pour a drink and turn around and hand it to her. There's always time for questions later.
You can see the cheeks kind of above her prominent tusks that kind of stick out of her lower jaw. You can see where they almost point to these cheekbones that begin to flush with color, even despite the fact that her skin has a greenish tint. You can see it kind of takes on this blush. And I think she kind of gives you a resolved look, and we just see her kind of reach over and set this wide-brimmed red hat like on the corner of a chair, and then we fade to the window. Were there specific questions you were trying to get out of her while you perhaps advanced things?
Yeah, more stuff along the lines of kind of maybe in like a gossipy kind of way, trying to find out about what they're saying about Guillaume and
Okay.
not being afraid to express her extreme distaste of him to win her over even more than the alcohol and fun time would get. But
Fair. Okay.
you know, those kinds of questions, and probably something along the lines of maybe trying to kind of nudge that why she thinks she's being replaced and where they're kind of maybe sending her to instead. Trying to get a little bit about that, not asking specifics so much about the individual people, because I feel like what I'm getting from her is that if I ask about the individual people, she kind of tends to button up a little bit. So instead, just more about her and her personal feelings and thoughts on why she's, getting skirted.
Okay. So make me a persuasion roll, and you can have advantage.
Okay.
This is, after all, Vera's craft.
That is a 17 on the persuasion.
Okay. So it takes some convincing and liberal application of wine and wiles, but you eventually get her to discuss that Guillaume is wanted with the murder of Revido Bolero, the man found in the bathtub. And it's a little strange to you, perhaps, because the only piece of evidence, the only piece of hard evidence that any of you had found at the crime scene was taken by Guillaume and not left behind. So that, and the quickness with which the Justicaros arrived on the scene, is starting to feel really suspicious. She does not seem to be aware of that being a suspicious thing at all. She seems to be pretty convinced that Guillaume might be guilty of this.
How did they? She would probably kind of try to poke a little bit. And how did you, did you arrive on you arrived while he was in the act? How did you know? What happened?
There were people who got him in the dormitories. Him and, well, a few others. But who knows what is true and not anymore. One of your name was amongst his accomplices.
It would never accomplice him.
Still, he may yet be dangerous. His father seems to think that he is perhaps involved with bad influences.
What kinds of bad influences? Who's he involved with?
Many seedy individuals and groups that operate here in Aledorgo. I am certain that you have had interactions with them at times. But which it is that he is doing the bidding of, we do not know. There's a group called the Iron Masks that have caused some trouble lately, and it's possible that he may be involved with them. He is a spellcaster, and many of these Iron Masks employ many spells in their assassination attempts.
Spellcasting assassins?
Indeed.
Does she say anything more about why she thinks she's getting replaced? Can I get any of that out of her?
She doesn't. She doesn't know the answer to that question. It seems to come she's definitely frustrated about it, and she's more than happy to discuss her frustrations. And you get the distinct impression that she feels that she's just not a senior enough ranking officer in the Justicaros, effectively. That like this case has gained too much traction, and that she's being taken off of it, and it's being given to the captain because he's the one who makes that kind of a call.
I have had, unfortunately, to deal with Guillaume in the past when he has come here, and he is nothing if not one who craves the center of everyone's attention, so he'll probably feel honored that the head Justicaro is chasing after him now at this point, if he ever finds that out.
Well, I imagine that he will soon know. His father has been informed of his suspicions, and the Justicaros are still out looking for him. Speaking of which, she kind of starts to get back out of the bed and get dressed. I really should be going.
Yeah, Vera would get out of bed too and help her get dressed. Actually dress her and tie her stuff off for her and do her buttons up and give her the full treatment. Yes, well, this was a unexpected but enjoyable afternoon.
She again kind of blushes and nods her head. Yes, perhaps sometime. And she kind of puts her hat back on and kind of adjusts the kind of string that hangs beneath her chin. Have a good day.
You too. And I'm always here. And she just lets her out the door.
Okay.
So Vera's Vera's
gonna
get cleaned up and take a bath and get dressed and stuff, and then kind of probably head back over to Sylvie's shop to talk to her. But that's it.
Okay, excellent. So while all of the rest of this is going on, Chimaran, what are you up to?
I think once we get back up to the surface and we've gone a little ways together in the gondola, and when Lox goes off to talk to his birds, whatever you want to call them, little rats, or
his mice,
yeah. Chimaran will take leave of Guillaume and Lox and head back home to change, get a better costume ready, so that we can, this one's a little bit noticed and stuff like that. So we're going to go and lay low a little bit before the plan starts.
Excellent. By the way, Lox, do you still have the Silver Spur sword? Or would you have tried to give that back to Armand?
I would have tried to give that back to Armand.
Okay. When you try to return it, he insists that you hold on to it.
Oh, well.
Okay. If you're going to be dealing with this other group of were-rats, he seems to insist that you might need it.
Okay, then I will keep it, and I would have taken the time necessary before going to sleep to bond with that weapon.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. So
Sorry, that was a +1 to attack and damage. It's a +1
Yes.
weapon.
it is a +1 weapon, and it counts as silvered. Otherwise, it is
Great.
a rapier.
Sick. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So I think kind of on the cusp of this party that that Sylvie is going to throw, I think this might be where we go ahead and wrap up this session. That way we can get Austin in here, anything that he might want to get up to before the party, and then we can kind of kick things off with a bang. Cool.
Sorry, but Vera just kind of finished it
please.
off with a bang.
Oh, true. Oh, wait. No, I know. There's still one thing that I'm going to do that I had planned as the possible end of this. Hold, please. Okay. Here we go. So as the rest of you kind of settle in for the evening before the party, making your plans for the days leading up to it, at some point we kind of fade to black as we see these various events transpiring. Eventually, we see as if our eyes are opening. The screen goes from black to slitted light filtering in through our vision. And after a few blinks, we realize that it is dim candle and torchlight that we now are able to see by. Looking upward, we see solemn masks that stare down at us with deep, hollow eyes. After a moment, we see our own hands reach up and grab a hold of the sides of what looks to be a stone box that we are laid inside of. Clambering up and out of this stone box, we see a multitude of individuals, heavily cloaked, well-dressed, and each of them, their visages cast in these eerie, hollow-eyed masks as they stare and watch as we stumble across the stone floor, leaving behind a series of bloody footprints. As we put distance between ourselves and where we awoke, we can see a sarcophagus covered in blood. An individual standing above the coffin, arms outspread, blood pouring from both wrists and down the mask and chin. The room in unison says,
"Welcome to the Iron Masks."
That is where we're going to end tonight's session. So, thank all of you so very, very much for tuning in this evening, whether you watched live with us or you may be tuning in at some point in the future. And of course, thank you for these 4 fantastic players. I'm going to pass things back over to them so that they can give whatever kind of outro that they wish, touch on, again, anything that they might have going on, and then we're going to call it an evening. So we'll go in reverse order, and we'll start with Matt.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt. I play Lox. The session was awesome. Got to do a duel. Found out that the Pope is maybe a vampire. It's really awesome. So I'm excited to explore and investigate and learn some more about this deepening conspiracy in the city of Aladago. So thank you, as always, Jeremy.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I'm super eager to continue to peel back the layers on this. And I'm so pleased that all of you are just bringing such great stuff to work with. And yeah, I can't wait for more. All right, next we have M.
Everyone, and I love this game. It's so great and unique, and I'm having a blast. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And those masked people are very scary. I'm very scared of them. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely a pleasure, as always. It makes me very happy that you use the word unique to describe this, because it's, again, like I said, it's not something I've ever seen done with Dungeons and Dragons before, this particular period of time. I'm sure there are people out there who have done it. But Gerdessi Gerdes, the kingdom, has always been something that I've wanted to delve into, but always been very hesitant to do because of the content, the nature of the content. But I'm super excited to be exploring it now, and with all of you. So thank you very much for that. Next, we have Karen.
Okay, just gotta say that final teaser, so dope. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to play the next time. The Iron Masks are now the creepiest, most freaky, scary things in this game, and I really don't want to find out more about them. This game just keeps getting better and better and blowing away all my expectations. I love it. I can't wait for the next session. And can we play tomorrow?
No, no, we cannot. I have to have time to put shit together. But
Okay,
yeah,
Friday.
Friday, you get 2 days. No, that makes me happy. Like I said, I really dig this setting, and I'm enjoying how far all of you are leaning into it with me. So it makes it so much easier to kind of throw these ideas your direction and trust that you're all going to do great things with it, and then ask for more. Even whenever I'm stabbing your characters and putting them through all kinds of hell. Gluttons for punishment. I love it. Last but certainly not least, we have Kenya.
Yeah, just kind of repeating what everybody. I did not think I would be sleeping with a Justicaro at some point today, so that was an interesting twist. But it's how we roll over here in the Castillo. So just an incredible game. It's once a month is not enough, but it's so good. The setting is so unique. It's so fun. It's, to steal M's word, it's just, man, I literally can't wait until the next game. It's so good. It's so much fun. And Guillaume was missed. It's going to be great when Vera gets to talk to him next time and tell him, you're in trouble, criminal. It's going to be a good time. But I got to do what I like to do, which was converse and prod. So, hey, there we go.
Yes, I'm really eager to see what Austin's going to do with Guillaume's present situation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So yes, he was very missed. Austin, buddy, love you. Hope everything is going well, and looking forward to seeing you next month. Yeah. This so we had our first duel and our first duel in one evening, so it was a big night. But yeah, huge plot potential plot hooks dropped and some spicy gossip being slung around. So I'm super eager to see how all of this is going to develop further. And yeah, this is great. I love this game. I love this world and this setting, and I love all of you for taking such care with it. It means a ton to me as a dungeon master. So thank you again for agreeing to play in this game, and for every single month coming to the table ready and eager to see what's next. So everybody who tuned in this evening, love you. Be kind to each other. This life is too fucking short to spew hatred and judgment on people. Just fucking get along. Like, it's not that hard, really. Stop judging people. Let people live their lives. But I love you all. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.